Welcome, astrology lovers. You are watching Astrology Hub TV. And for those of you who don't know me, my name's Amanda Poole Walsh. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Astrology Hub. And Astrology Hub TV is a show dedicated to helping you explore your connection to the cosmos and how cultivating this connection can help you live a more vibrant, empowered, and fulfilling life. We're here live every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. If you're interested in receiving a live alert every time that we go live, you can do so by clicking on the link in the chat and or in the link above this video. All right, so this last Tuesday, we had our big summer forecast event. We featured 4 different astrologers, including Kaypacha, and it was 3 hours of astrology insights for this summer. And what I walked away with is that this summer is going to be very, very, very potent, that there's a lot of change on the horizon for us personally and collectively. And the astrologers had some great insights and great advice on how to work with that change and really how to I love how Kaypacha says, stay centered amidst the chaos. So if you missed that, you can actually still watch the replay through Sunday night at midnight Pacific. We're going to keep that replay open and available to you. If you join our inner circle, you'll actually have access to the replay from that event for life. So you'll have that in your membership portal. If you are familiar with the inner circle, you can check out the link for that too. That's our monthly membership program. Enrollment is now open for a limited time. And Kaypacha is going to be our next lunar cycle guide. And it's so great to have you with us here today, Kaypacha. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's nice to be here. Thanks for having me, Amanda.
All right. So in the forecast, you talked about why now is the perfect time for us to break free from the past, or more accurately, this summer, why this is a great opportunity for us to really work with those past karmic ties and how there's specific healing opportunities for all of us this summer. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit more today. And then we're also going to be talking to Kaypacha about his philosophy around astrology and how he's used it to build his own spiritual practice. So in today's episode, you're going to learn how astrology can be utilized as a guiding force in your life, why Kaypacha uses astrology for empowerment versus prediction, and how the world is playing out its perfect evolutionary intention. I love that. This is going to be a really exciting conversation with you, Kaypacha. So all of you out there, today's episode is perfect for you if you want to understand astrology for personal transformation, if you want to understand the evolutionary intention behind world events, and if you're interested in building a spiritual practice or carving out more time for yourself this summer. I know I would definitely include myself in that camp. Okay, so a little bit more about Kaypacha. Kaypacha has more than 40 years of experience as an astrologer and spiritual practitioner. His approach to healing spirit, mind, and body through emotional release and Kundalini yoga utilizes astrology as a healing art. In addition to personal readings, he brings astrology to everyone through international lectures, experiential workshops, writing, and teaching. He's the author of the Pele Report, a weekly astrological YouTube forecast, and numerous magazine and online articles. Using yoga, meditation, and nature for self-renewal and natural law as his guide, his work brings balance, love, and joy to others and to the planet. That is definitely so, Kaypacha. All right. So one question that we would love to hear from all of you out there, or we'd love to hear your answer, is do you find that you're more interested in astrology for the self-empowerment nature or the ability to help you align with your spiritual path? Or do you find yourself wanting to know more about predictions and forecasts? What side of astrology are you more drawn to? If you can chat that in, it would be really interesting for us to take a look at that. And Kaypacha, let's start with how you first got into astrology. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey?
Yes, I moved. I left Chicago when I was 17 and moved out to California and plunked myself right next door to an astrologer. And at that point, I had no interest in it whatsoever. I didn't even know my sign because I'm born on July 23rd. So
Wow.
I didn't even know if I was a Cancer or a Leo, and I really didn't care, but just one afternoon, I went over and, he invited me and told me, he would do my chart. And I said, sure, you can tell me whether I'm a Cancer or a Leo. Well, we sat down and spent the whole afternoon. He had drawn up my chart and he told me about my parents. And I had just crashed my motorcycle. I had a Harley, and I wiped out my knees. And I have Capricorn ruling the sixth house. And he said, watch out for those knees. And then he told me, my girlfriend was gonna, be from France or associated with France, and my girlfriend was just learning how to speak French. And the guy is just like, I'm just sitting there going, I'm 18 years old, and he just blew my mind. And so that really changed, that changed me radically, because before then I was living according to the Budweiser beer commercial, that you only go around once and you should live for all the gusto you can. And I was definitely living a very, I was really going for it in a lot of different directions. And the astrology just really showed me and shared with me that there's reincarnation, and that a lot of, we choose the time and the place and the body and the parents with a particular intention. And, that really adjusted my mindset, like, wholly and completely. I really changed a lot of my personal habits and my, view of life and my beliefs. And I did all the charts of my family and all the charts of my friends, and just dove in. I bought all these astrology books, and I've just been completely enthralled with it ever since.
Did you learn from that astrologer? Did that astrologer teach you, or did it just put you on the path?
No, we would hang out together day after day after day after day. And he was, he was not even a professional astrologer. He was a taxi driver in San Francisco.
Wow.
But he was one of these guys. You'd take me down to hang out with the witches in San Francisco. And, I was like, a witch? I'm like 18, and it's very, he was very occult. He was very Scorpio. He was, from New York City, and yeah, a very, very interesting fellow. But yeah.
What did your family say about this shift? It sounds like it was a pretty dramatic change from the lifestyle you were living to, like, all of a sudden you're into astrology and past lives and spirituality. How did your family respond to that?
Well, not very well. My parents are both German, Republican, Catholic, and I went to the seminary to become a priest, in high school, and so they were quite dismayed. They felt that it was they never really did support me as an astrologer in astrology. As much as I told them that the three wise men were astrologers, and that the Council of Nicaea in 900 rewrote the Bible and took astrology and the soul out of it, and blah. I tried everything. In fact, astrology is all over the Bible. So it was, but the church is not the Bible even. So anyway, no support whatsoever. In fact, it was my mother, to the day she died, used to say a rosary a day for me to bring me back to the fold. She really felt that I had gone
to the dark side. Yeah. Wow. When did you realize that you wanted astrology to be your career? Like, when did that happen?
Well, I had always wanted that, but I tried right off the bat. I remember doing readings for $20 back in the early 80s, when I was just learning, and I think I upped it to 40. and quickly realized that, oh, I see, this is not this is not just kind of like something that you know go off and do. And I had a number of other experiences. I have a long biography, a very, you know, diverse moon in Gemini in the 10th house, you know, but how can I say? So I wanted to do it for a long time, but I did not see it as a viable means to, you know, to survive. Kind of like being a Hollywood movie star or a rock star. You know, there would be like 1%, you know, that would make it, you know, and I didn't really have the confidence. So I got led, you know, down other pathways, and it wasn't really until probably around, I think it was 2001, I got a divorce and I got some money, and I said, I am only going to do my passion from now on. I love astrology. I am tired of doing anything else. I'm going to focus on that. And I took the money from the selling the house, and just said, boom, this is it. I started a website. I put out some ads, and I lasted for 6 months.
Interesting. What happened?
Just not enough, you know, not enough clients, not enough, you know, I mean, you know, I mean, I even started teaching some classes, and I would have 2 or 3 people show up at my classes at the local bookstore, and I was just not heard of or known or, you know, I mean, anything. So I went back to work as a carpenter, and saved up my money. And in 2005, my kids, empty nest, they went off to college, and I had more space and more time and more money. My kids were gone, and I said, I'm going to do it again. And in 2005, I shot out again and said, that's it. I put down my hammer and put out some more ads. And I mean, I had been doing some classes, so I was starting to get, you know, 2, 3, 4 readings a week, you know, maybe 5 on a good week or something. But, you know, even that, so I lasted for a year before I ran out of money and had to go back, you know, to doing the construction again. And I did that again and again. And it was in 2009 that I did a Kundalini yoga teacher training with my girlfriend. And I swear that that is really what changed the synapses of my brain, what I see in a chart, how I read a chart, what I pick up in a chart, and from the person and from the collective and from Mars and Venus, and started, you know, transmissions. And I just started, it just opened up, you know, a lot of things and changed my whole reality. And I moved to Hawaii, and just decided to leave everybody and everything, and sold everything and gave everything away. And I was just going to eat bananas and coconuts and swim with dolphins and do Kundalini the rest of my life. I had full intention of disappearing and not having anything to do with people again. And I threw away, you know, the few clients that I had and the little bit of business that I had in California. I just said, you know, done. And, but I got a little Logitech camera so that I could Skype my kids. And it said, you know, you can make videos with this camera. So I was only goofing around. I was playing around. I went out in the backyard and I just did a little astrology. It was the first Pele report in 2010. And I just posted that for just goofing around, right? Just playing with some friends and everything. And yeah, So I wasn't even really trying to be an astrologer. I wasn't trying to do business. I wasn't advertising. I wasn't building a practice. I wasn't, I was goofing around. I was doing a work exchange at Yoga Oasis in Pahoa. I don't know if you remember Yoga Oasis.
I do.
Yeah, I was just like living there and changing propane tanks. And yeah, and then it just started escalating and snowballing, and the viewership went up, and then people invited me to come, and they would like me to teach or visit and things. And I said, if you get together 10 to 20 people in your living room, I'll come. So I started traveling with my suitcase, and because that was all I had pretty much anyway. And I was living the lifestyle of a yogi, having nothing. And I just went to Australia and India and started doing workshops in people's living rooms. And then,
the rest is history. I mean, at this point, can you hear that echo, or is it just me?
I can't hear you very good.
Okay. I'm always amazed at your audience loves you so much. I mean, it is, and I love that story because it just shows that you kind of went in and out of following your passion, but it was always there. And then you were just playing. You were just doing something that seemed fun. And that energy is behind everything that you do. And I know, I love it. Well, how many planets in Leo? At least 5, right? 6. Okay. Yeah. I mean, how perfect is that? I love that. I love that story. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Let's talk about astrology for self-empowerment versus astrology for prediction. Why do you prefer one over the other? Can you tell us about that?
Well, I think prediction is full of bullshit. I don't, there's basically, you only have a 50-50 chance of having an accurate prediction, and it's just mere luck if you have more, because what you are doing is you are reading the field as it exists at the moment that you are reading the field. So assuming you're making a huge assumption that the field is, and people's beliefs and values and consciousness is going to remain in that same state in order for that particular future to manifest. So it's absolutely fatalistic. It's saying that people don't change, they don't have free will, that everything is just kind of going to remain the same. I mean, it's just like so Newtonian physics. It's so third dimensional. It's so linear, and it totally robs, a human being of their soul, conscious impact, and their ability to be free and to affect change in themselves and in the world. I think it's the worst disservice that you can possibly do to anybody is to sow some seed of some event in their future life that could either be, they're going to die, like doctors tell people they're going to die, or you're going to meet somebody, or you're going to, it's just like, this is like so, it's so counter to my whole approach, to assist people, in working towards expanding their consciousness to become more. I mean, I see the astrology chart as a blueprint of your soul, and your soul is unconscious. So when you look with your ego consciousness, which I say is the tip of the iceberg, that little 10%, into the 90% of your soul, you come into alignment with a more expansive, I call spiritual essence of yourself, and you evolve your capacities, your talents, your identity, your awareness, everything. And that to me is what life is about on this planet. That is, like I said, reincarnation. We come back and back and back. You know, Jeffrey Green, my teacher, talks about the evolutionary stages. We have hundreds of lifetimes, okay, and the dimly evolved, okay, and then we come into the consensus, and then we come into the individuated, and finally the spiritual, and we graduate from the school of human evolution. And we don't have to come back to Earth again. We become Christ-like, Buddha-like. We reach a level of consciousness. So I feel like this planet is a school, and we are all in process of evolving and expanding our, you know, our awareness. And so the idea of predetermination, of predicting, of a fatalistic, this is why, you know, the whole Vedic school, you know, I am not, you know, I'm just not in it. I'm not there. It's saying that the universe is a static entity, and the planets are like billiard balls, you know, running around. I mean, there's no spirit, you know, in it. And does that answer your question?
It does, yeah, and definitely no opportunity for co-creation. I mean, my question is, what do you think about more like collective predictions for the collective based on the energies, or like the spiraling of time, or, you know, for example, like a lot of financial astrologers will look at the trends in the market and things like that. Do you think that's all bunk too, or do you think there's some merit?
You know, I mean, I think it is extremely valuable, and this is, you know, the picture that I always give is that we're surfing.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see when a wave is coming.
Yes.
And all evolution occurs in cycles. And just like the farmer knows that it's a good time to plant seeds in the spring because the days are getting longer, okay, you know, and we know that it's, you know, best to wake up at sunrise because it's light outside. It's extremely intelligent to sense and understand and correlate our daily activities and our, you know, according to the cycles. And astrology is the study of cycles, cycles upon cycles upon cycles upon cycles. So the rise of Jupiter and the rise of Saturn, and when they're falling, and, you know, the balsamic, you know, let go. And I mean, it's like super great for getting a sense of when to paddle, when to stand up, you know, when to jump off, you know, and we can really, you know, it's great. I do talk to my clients about, okay, this is a very great time, okay, for expanding in this realm. And that, you know, and keep all the options open. And this is a time where you are going to need to make decisions, okay, involving your relationship. I mean, yes, I mean, of course, I do chart readings, you know, all the time. I've done thousands of chart readings, and of course, I use it, you know, to empower people to get a sense, you know, that that they're not only their soul is evolving, but like how it's evolving. And I also talk about their past lives, where they're coming from, and what their soul intention is for this entire lifetime. Mm-hmm. And when you just do that, it's almost like it's so helpful to people to know that this is the past and this is the future. And if I want to go backwards, I'm going to keep on doing that. And if I want to go forwards, I'm going to go more towards that. You know, that is, to me, you know, the best, the highest use of astrology.
Okay, so what you're saying that you're not in favor of is is fatalistic predictions about like specific events, but utilizing what we know about energetic cycles and spirals of time and I use the waves too, you know, the surf report to know when it's a good day to go out surfing versus a day it's not good. There's no waves, or they're too big or they're too small or whatever. That's how you use astrology.
Sure. I mean, I help people plan their wedding date, you know, and court dates, you know. I mean, yeah, I mean, you can use horary astrology. I've used horary astrology, you know, to answer, you know, where you just draw up a chart for the moment they ask the question.
Yeah.
And the answer's in the chart. So, I mean, you can, you know, I mean, yeah, you can, there's lots of different applications.
Okay.
And of course, astrocartography, I use that to help people determine geographical locations, you know, where they will thrive the most. So I wouldn't say that that's predictive, but it's utilizing, you know, the scientific. It's so beautiful because astrology, I call an art science. You know, there's an art to it, and then there's a science to it. And the other thing that I love, and why I would rather teach people to be their own astrologers than do readings for them, is that I see it as the you know, one of the highest uses of it is also to validate your intuitive experience from an external source. Because, you know, I rather than look at the chart to see what's coming, I like to look at the chart to see what was going on when I was thinking that? What was going on when I married so-and-so? What was going on when I, you know, I mean, that really gives deep understanding. And then also in the very moment when I'm just like, you know, like when I'm really feeling a strong intuitive, or I had this dream, or I've got this, you know, gut feeling about something, to just like look at the chart right then and there. And it's just this, it validates, you know, and I've had my intuition validated like so many times with where Moon, Venus, Mars, and everything is, and what the transits are, that it's just like, it's super validating, you know.
It enables us to trust it then at some point without even having to consult, because it's right so many times. Yeah. Okay. What do you think is the evolutionary intention behind the world events that we're witnessing right now?
Well, we have the end of the patriarchy, and we have the reemergence of the feminine. And to me, this is just an expansion of our human species becoming more conscious of the play, the eternal play of the yin and the yang, of what it is to be a man, what it is to be a woman, what is the nature of the masculine, what is the nature of the feminine. And basically you put these two together, and what is the nature of the creative force, and how can we become more conscious co-creators and really begin to, you know, I don't know yet. It's like, you know, there's a process of creation that I don't know that it's been specifically mapped out. I just think of Shakespeare and a Shakespeare play, you know, there's the intuition, you know, then there's, you know, that it fills out with the imagination, and then it's written, and then you get the lights, and you get the actors, and you set the stage, and you build the stage, and you advertise it and promote it. And, you know, I mean, it's like, it's an incarnation process. It's like the creation process is an incarnation process. And to me, it's just like really, you know, us becoming, it's like this opening of the third eye, the age of Aquarius, I associate with the third eye, and it's becoming far more, you know, conscious of our co-creative abilities, which I directly coincide with groups, associations, and the collective consciousness of how the universe is set up, of how, you know, of the matrix of life. the interconnectedness and interrelatedness of all life, becoming more and more conscious of the power of our thoughts on the weather, you know, and the power of our, you know, emotions on the volcanoes. And just like this whole becoming so much, you know, I can emerging out of the third dimension, Newtonian physics, cause and effect, gravity, good, bad, right, wrong, plus, minus, yes and no, into, you know, it would, the fourth and the fifth dimension is the paradox. And this is what I say with Neptune moving through Pisces in particular. This is a time for us to begin to be dealing, accepting, and swimming in the waters of dual coexisting, okay, supposedly canceling. It's like there is evil and there's not evil. You know, it's, you need boundaries and there's no such thing as boundaries. I mean, you know, it's like there are so many opposites that should cancel each other out and don't. This is the tolerance for chaos. It's actually a law of physics, you know, that they worked with. I think it was Heisenberg, but you know, the tolerance for paradox needs to like really open and expand, that we may begin to see other dimensional realities and create and just expand our creative capacity as a species.
And that to you is the fifth dimension. That space. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. How do you use astrology, or how would you guide someone who wants to use astrology to deepen their spiritual practice?
Well, I mean, my spiritual practice is, you know, I bring it to all my workshops. I tell people that come to my workshops that I lure people into my workshops using astrology so I can teach them Kundalini yoga.
Tell us more about Kundalini yoga.
You know, and if I consider yoga, okay, you know, whether it's pranayama, chanting, doing kriyas and movement, the actual yoga, the intention of yoga is to prepare the body to meditate. So, you know, I know that the West has turned them into exercise classes, but, you know, any class where you don't meditate after you do the yoga is really, like, to me, missing the boat, you know. It's just silly. But stilling the mind of the mind is a tool of the ego. Our left brain linear logical thinking exists in opposites of plus and minus, you know, ones and zeros, square waves. Like our brain is like a transistor making a million yes and no decisions a second. So we're locked in, our ego is locked in, Mercury is locked into this dimension, and therefore has a limited perspective on our identity, on our essence, on our potential, and definitely, you know, the soul. So both yoga and astrology are these means of connecting our ego with our soul, which is outside and beyond. And yoga stills the mind to listen. Listening is ruled by Venus. Yes, the ears, Venus, listening. Okay, this is very, you know, and astrology to me is also listening. It is being in a receptive state to receive knowledge, understanding, wisdom, beauty, awe, wonder, gratitude by the symphonic music of the spheres. I mean, the majesty, the glory, the mystery, and the intelligence behind the movements of the planets and the stars is so mind-boggling, blowing, that it can do nothing but instill the sense of awe, wonder, and gratitude that to me is of the highest vibration. So yoga is trying, in yoga, you are raising your vibration, you're increasing your magnetic field, particularly of the heart. And astrology, is like just so, it's almost like they do the same thing in different ways, because they have that same similar aspect, in my opinion.
All right, beautiful. A couple questions from the audience. Elaine asks, what are the indicators for the soul's purpose? The notes of the moon?
I mean, whenever I do a chart reading, I start out just by simply saying the chart is a blueprint of your soul, and therefore is an Akashic record of your soul. And I start with your past and go with the future. And I read you like a book. The Akashic record is a book, and you have a theme, a plot, and a character. The theme is Pluto. By house, sign, and aspect, Pluto is the soul experience in the past lives. Okay, that you have. I mean, if it's Virgo, it's healing. Libra, relationships. Scorpio, intimacy. Sagittarius, natural law, truth, wisdom, whatever. I mean, you can but obviously way far more than that. Okay, and then of course by house and aspect. So that's the theme. Now, how you have been developing that theme, the job in your past lifetimes, the plot, the action line, where and when and how you worked on that theme is the south node of the moon by house, sign, and aspect. And then of course, the ruler of the sign of the house, of the south node, will also give you further information about past life capacities, talents, abilities, experience that the soul has had, coming into this life. And then I treat the moon as the character. We all have a PhD in our moon sign. Been there, done that, comfortable, safe, and secure, whether it was safe or secure or not. I mean, it could be opposite Mars or square Pluto, but it is what we identify as nurturing, as, supporting. So we run to our moon whenever we are threatened or afraid. So this is where we begin with Pluto, the south node of the moon, and the moon. And the evolutionary intention, the evolutionary path is always laid out by the Pluto polarity point. I work so much with polarities. I swear that there is a black hole in the center of the chart, that when you find the exact balance between Scorpio and Taurus, Libra and Aries, Leo and Aquarius, you get sucked up into the 12th dimension. It's just like when you find that perfect spot, it's just like, ah. So, as you move, I don't want to say that, if you were born, with Pluto and Scorpio, you want to abandon and forget Scorpio, impossible. But as you move towards Taurus, by house, and by aspect, as you move to that Pluto polarity point, this is the natural evolutionary path towards balancing. Because the other thing that you do is when you reach that polarity, it also enacts a trinity. And the Trinity law of three, just like really is that place of the observer or the witness. You get to the Pluto polarity point through the north node of the moon. So it has to do with your future job, your future intention. The plot wants to go in that direction to really comprehend or fully incarnate the evolutionary intention of the Pluto polarity point. And then I say that you have a PhD in your moon, but you are in the school of your rising sign. That your rising sign is instinctive, unconscious, and impulsive. And the more that you bring your conscious, directed awareness, yes, to that, it's going to really, empower you. And I kind of look a little bit also like we're coming out of the 12th house into the first house and moving towards the second house. I also kind of, so there's all these different things. And this is like so, I think, critical, in the teaching of astrology, to give people an entry point and an exit point, so that you're not just looking at this thing going, oh my God. It's nice to have a way into the chart.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay. That was really helpful. All that information you just shared. I'm sure I was, writing down all of my points, and I'm sure everybody was doing the same. So thank you so much for that. And Kaypacha, you are going to be our featured inner circle guide starting with the new moon next week. And the mastery class training that you're going to be giving us is around remaining centered amidst chaotic change. Can you give us a little sneak preview into that talk?
Well, yeah, I will be doing some pranayama, some kundalini yoga. We'll be doing, bring in some chants, and of course, practices and mantras. Of course, I bring a mantra every week, with the Paleo report, anyway, for people to, sense. But, these are extremely chaotic times. Mars conjunct the south node of the moon, okay, in Aquarius, in square to both Jupiter and Uranus, essentially, all through the summer is, just reflective of, right, a tremendous leap. Uranus and Aquarius both have to do with, this cycle of time in the evolutionary cycle of all things. Aquarius is the 11th sign of the zodiac. Okay, and it's gone all the way around from the first of Aries, actually comes out of Pisces, the infinite potential, into Aries, all the way around to Aquarius. And that is a time of having gone through the whole cycle, no matter what it is, a lifespan, a business, a marriage, a relationship, anything goes through these evolutionary cycles. And at that particular point, it is time to step out, to liberate yourself from whatever that cycle was about, okay, and step back from, your reputation or your job or the conventional, normal, what other people have to say. Or it's like you reach a culmination at 0 degrees Capricorn. That's the height of the cycle. And from 0 Capricorn down to 0 Aries, it's decondition. Step out, step back, step away, look at the bigger, wider, broader picture. Aquarius has to do with the future. It has to do with scientific investigation and experimentation. It has to do with this opening into the observer and the witness, of getting in that helicopter and taking off and stepping out. So it is a time that is highly unstable, that is about experiment and initiate. And Uranus comes around with sudden, unexpected events and people that shake you, that rattle you, that inspire you, and that maybe kick your butt or electrify you. And these events, that it's the process of individuation, stepping into my unique, different from the group, different from, my past. So that's a huge time of change. And the south node of the moon, of course, has to do with our past life patterns, like I said before. And so Mars is the sword that cuts. So we are cutting cords from the past. If you are a hot air balloon, just think of the guy going around with a sword going chop, chop, chop. It's time for the balloon to take off. And this is very exciting. It's very unstable. And for some people, it's extremely scary. So we have all of these emotions going on now, where we don't know who to trust, what to trust, what's going to last, what is of the future and what is of the past, what we need to let go of versus what we need to grab onto. I also like the analogy of the trapeze artist. It's like you've got to let go of the trapeze, and we are now this summer in mid-air, hoping to grab the next trapeze, hoping that it comes. And we're in this moment, and in this moment is extreme freedom. This is the most scary time, and it is the time of the greatest potential for change within the whole, really, if you think about it, within the whole cycle. This is a time where we can really make conscious choices and decisions that either unbound us, like Prometheus unbound. I identify Prometheus as Uranus, or we freak and we go, oh shit, I'm going back. I want to turn around and grab that same trapeze again. It's like, so, astrology, and the month that we're in, of course, just understanding, okay, where these planets are in your chart. Okay, it's like really, okay, if it's, we can go through the houses that they are. I can go through the, different planets that Uranus and Mars are aspecting, where the moon's nodes are in your chart. These are all, I consider, extremely valuable aids to calm the nervous system, anxiety, worry, stress. These are the biggest factors of ill health. Yes, and dysfunction and psychological. Aquarius also rules insanity and madness. And this is a time where many people can become mentally unstable. Okay, and and it's just like, the chemical balances of the brain are getting, altered and modified, just like the synapses of the brain. So we really want to work with, and I, of course, I've done whole workshops on medical astrology, okay, and tied in the different aspects and elements of the body to specific Kundalini yoga kriyas and exercises, crow pose, okay, for root chakra, right, and just like, heart chakra. So, I've actually done workshops of creating specific yoga kriyas from your chart, so that each of the participants, you just look at the birth chart and it's like, okay, wow, okay, what you want to do, is, camel pose, followed by, breath of fire using the, and you give them a whole thing that's just like the perfect, strengthening, supportive, physical, mental, emotional routine or exercise that they can possibly do. So, I would like to just bring as much of that as I possibly can, through my time with Astrology Hub in June.
That is so exciting. I can't wait for that. So that's going to be starting next week, June 12th. Kaypacha will be our lunar cycle guide for the inner circle for the entire month. So we'll be with him on the new moon, on the full moon. When you join the membership program, you'll also be able to engage with Kaypacha and all the other inner circle members in our private online forum. So if you're interested in joining us, enrollment is now open through next Friday. You can check it out with the link in the chat. Kaypacha, can I ask you a question about a lot of things you just said? You talked about letting go of the past, our south nodes, like letting go of old things so that we can bring in new, completely different experiences. Will it be clear to us this summer which things need to be let go of versus which things, like where we're stuck in a pattern? Because maybe we have a pattern of running away from things, or we have a pattern of cutting people out of our lives. And maybe we're being asked to stay, or maybe we're being asked to see things differently or approach them differently than we ever did. Will those kinds of questions be more clear to us this summer than they have been?
there's not a one size fits all. I mean, I will say my experience is that, our unconscious soul or spirit, kind of whispers in our ear, taps us on the shoulder, then gives us a little bit of a push, and then takes a 2x4 and smacks us over the freaking head, and then kicks us right out of the ball. It's like, so, it just depends, like I said before, on listening. And both yoga and astrology are really tools for listening to spirit, for validating, what we receive inwardly, intuitively. Okay, it shows us the cycles. It really shows, what is repeating the past and what is, moving into the unknown, unfamiliar future. So, but whether a person, first of all, do they sign up for Astrology Hub? Because there'll be a whole bunch of people that, it's like, I don't even want to listen. Because we also just, when you look at Chiron, when you look at the wounded healer, when you look at your soul purpose and your soul intention, there's these various different states. I even talked about them in our, in the webinar the other day. We have a choice between avoiding, denying, trying to escape. It's like numbing out, substance abuse, addictions, work, sex, music, pot, whatever. Just like, all kinds of ways of trying to avoid it and block it out. And if that's the case, no, this summer, can go by and you can get smacked and whacked and dabbed, and you will, and some people are so stubborn and so resistant to change that they will block out. It's like, you can really see what you want to see and not see what you don't want to see. You have people in partnerships and relationships that just go, oh, no, he didn't say that. No, I didn't see him do that. No, that never happened. We can be in such freaking denial that it takes a volcano, it takes an earthquake, it takes a tsunami, it takes your house burning down or your spouse dying to like freaking wake you up that, oh my God, I need to change. And then there'll be other people. Okay, so avoid, escape, deny is one. And then the other is to fight and resist, overcompensation. It's like, no, you're not taking that away from me. No, I'm not changing. This is a test. And this is what the patriarchy is all about. The whole patriarchy has been, the more you can resist change, the stronger your house, the stronger your building, the stronger your business, so that you don't have to change. That's a sign of strength, power, control. And, like that was a sought after, quality, right? How much you can resist change. So there can still be a lot of patriarchs, okay, that this is a test. This is a test of how strong I am, okay? And they get the signal, but they read the signal as, oh, I need to strengthen my bank account. I need to, invest in something. I need to put up more forces against the change. But you see, what I'm really feeling now, and this is the third. This is the reemergence of the feminine. This is the feminine is change. Okay, and being a sign of wisdom, not weakness, is that I change. And I listen, and with my intuition and my feelings, and and my open chakras, it's a strength to be able to change and to flow and to mutate and to adapt and to like really take the greatest advantage of any particular moment is to be flexible, and that to resist and to block and to so these people. That's, they're going to sign up and they're going to be watching their charts and they're going to be, this is, so, this is, like I said, depending upon your evolutionary stage, and there's really 3/4 of the population is in the consensus Saturn resist, only look at the material phenomena, state of consciousness and evolution. So there's only 25% that are going to be open and awake enough to, maybe see, the wave coming, and then of course they're each going to approach it differently according to their soul plan, according to their evolutionary stage, and according to their fear.
Kaypacha, you are such a joy to listen to. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. One of the things that I've heard you guys consistently, both from Kaypacha and then also from the other 3 astrologers that we had on the forecast event on Tuesday, is this summer is a really important time for all of us to get quiet, to get still, to listen. However you do that, for some of you that might be meditation, for some of you that might be moving your body, going out in nature, whatever it is, but it has been really, really consistent. So I think my guess is all of you out there are part of the 25% that is willing to, is not just willing, but here to grow and to change and to evolve. And so it sounds like that's one of the biggest keys of wisdom that we've gotten from all 4 astrologers that were on that panel. That forecast is still available for free for you to tune into through Sunday at midnight Pacific. The link to watch that is in the chat, so you can check that out, and you'll get to listen to Kaypacha again, plus the other 3 astrologers that we had on that event. These 4 astrologers will be the next lunar cycle guides. So they will be the ones in the inner circle that will guide you through all these different energies all summer long. Again, enrollment for the inner circle is open through next Friday. Check it out. Is there something that you wanted to add, or were you just echoing?
Well, just that, and there are also going to be, shocking events, news releases, natural phenomena, economic, governmental, military, headlines, that are going to really distract and upset. And, so it's not like, oh yeah, just, sit under a tree. It's going to be like, in order to still myself, I am going to need, some practice and some way of really, getting there. It's not going to be easy.
It's not going to be easy. And I find that it's best to practice when it is easy, so that when it is chaotic and challenging, you go, oh yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do to get centered. That's what I do to get quiet. That's what I do to listen to my intuition. So we can all be practicing now. I don't know what's going on in your life, but if things feel relatively calm, it's a good time to start practicing. There's this one study that shows that athletes, like sprinters, when they get tired or like when they're stressed in an Olympic race, they fall back on their habit. They fall back on the way that they run in practice. So if we practice for chaos, if we practice for the unknown, if we practice for discomfort, then we'll be able to fall back on good habits. But if we don't, then it's really, really hard. When those times happen, it's like you don't have anything to fall back on. So hopefully that's helpful for all of you. And if, for all of us in the inner circle, we'll be doing that together. So I always find that it's great to have a community to do that with. It helps to fortify our strength when we can do things together. So Kaypacha, you're amazing. Thank you so much. It's so fun to listen to you. It's just, there's always this expansion that happens. I really appreciate all of your wisdom and experience. And it was really fun to hear about your story too, to hear about your So thanks for
Okay.
Yeah. And if people want to learn more or get a reading from you, several people have asked if you still give readings. Do you still give readings?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
You gotta be doing that. So you just go to my website, newparadigmastrology.com, and click on readings.
All right. Fantastic. Very good. And if you want to hang out with Kaypacha all lunar cycle long, the inner circle is available to you now. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and thank you very much for making astrology a part of your life. We'll see you next time.
Namaste.